Hey everybody, I'm Seth Williams. I'm here with my friend Peter Nasani. So Peter, not long ago, bought this office building. I thought this would be a good opportunity to get out here and just learn more about the story, about why he bought this, what his goals are, how he found it, all that stuff. I think there's a lot of lessons that can be learned from this kind of case study. So we're going to do a little tour and learn more about it. Peter,
Seth,
tell me all about this thing. So we just start with why you bought this property.
So actually, had no intention of buying an office building, but it started with my dad. He was looking for office space, and we looked at a few places to rent, and then he's like, "Hey, we're paying like $2,000 or whatever it was per month." He was starting to look at buying a place instead of renting an office. So we started looking at a couple of, properties or listings or whatever. And what we ran into was there's a lot of condos, like office condos and things like that. And then we ran into this building. The interesting thing is maybe a couple of years ago, it would have been a lot more expensive to buy an office building, but it's kind of the right time after COVID, like what's been going on with the office spaces. So it kind of felt like a more reasonable time to get a good deal on an office building.
Yeah. And where did you find this deal exactly?
So we used LoopNet, and just one of those like online thing. There's LoopNet, there's Crexy. I think those are the main ones.
And this was set up as a seller finance deal, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So no conventional loan involved?
Nope. So the banks, they have a lot of questions and process, but the beautiful thing is sometimes, especially when it's more of a challenging or unique property to sell, the seller will offer seller financing. And that worked out really well for us in this case, because when you have seller financing, first of all, like you save a lot of money on like the loan origination fees and like all the due diligence and headaches. Oftentimes it's just like a credit check with the seller, and if the seller will finance it for you, you go to a title company. So first you set up the contract, and then you do the attorney review and just like the typical process, but there's no bank involved. And then you close at a title company.
Mm-hmm. Was this advertised specifically as seller financing, or the seller kind of wanted cash, but you had to talk them into seller financing?
It was advertised, but sometimes they do say like seller financing available. Mm-hmm. And that's what was the case on this one. But again, their definition of seller financing may be way different. So like, if they're like, oh, I want 50% down, so yeah, it was broadly mentioned seller financing available, but then we started making offers with the seller financing.
Mm-hmm. Were you far apart in terms of your definition of seller financing versus theirs, or was their terms acceptable to you, or how much haggling did you have to do over that?
A good amount, actually, right? Because this is like my first time doing anything like this in the commercial space. Mm-hmm. We definitely had to go back and forth a few times.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I would say about 4 to 5 offers.
Okay. Was there a point at which you kept trying to go and they just said, no, we're not going to keep going?
And that was the last one.
Okay. Were you willing to walk away? Like, would you have accepted terms more in their favor, but you just kept pushing for your sake? Or how much flexibility did you have on what you were willing to accept?
We tried to be, we really wanted to do this, right? But we did have to be firm because of just the amount of risk, right? Like when everybody's running from office as a sector, kind of going head into it, like with something like this, we definitely had to be aggressive, or not, it just wouldn't be worth it.
And why are you willing to take this risk with everybody running away from office space? Like, what makes you comfortable or confident that this is going to work out?
Great question.
I mean, is it because you've got great terms or a great price, or like you know something other people don't, or you're willing to do work other people won't, or what's making this work for you?
I think it's a combination, and I would love to go into the work part of it because that's huge.
Yeah.
Even in the last 1 month, which we've started on this, there's so many learning lessons and stories when it comes to like renovation and working with contractors. But why did I choose to still take this risk? So me and my dad went half and half, right? So just that's what we did. I would definitely say it's terms. We got a good, like it was seller financing, good terms.
When you say half and half, do you mean like whatever cash down payment, like you both coughed up half of that?
Yep.
And you're making half of the monthly payments and half of the risk or whatever? Everything?
Renovation costs.
Okay.
So like, yeah, everything like a joint partnership or whatever you call it. So, but why did we do this? Because, so the idea here is this was a vacant building because the last company that was in here, they sold their business and they no longer needed their office, but they own this building. So there's like, I think roughly about 20 rooms in there. And the plan is to rent out multiple rooms or individual office rooms to small businesses or...
Yeah.
And my thought process, Seth, was like, we have to be able to find 20 people that can give us $500 a month. And that should cover, and even a little more, like it should cash flow if we can find 20 people that will rent a furnished office for $4.99 a month.
So the idea is to make this like a co-working space, kind of like a little WeWork type operation where you rent out individual offices to individual businesses or people?
I mean, I think it's kind of a hybrid because co-working is like you can do a rent a desk model or like a shared space. I think that's a cool little thing to do as well, but we're more focused on like people that want an actual room or an actual suite, because the desk model, I think it does work, but I think the real value out here is because when I tried renting a space to get like a room, it would be like $900 or $1,000 a month, and we're trying to do that for half the price instead of focusing on the rent a desk model.
Yeah. Before we go in there, just check out what it looks like currently. Tell me a little bit about the improvements or changes you're planning to make to the outside of this building, like all the exterior, parking lot, facade, landscaping. Like, what are your plans exactly?
Yeah, and we can actually look at some of the work that's been done too, if you want to walk around.
Yeah, sure. And this is so you bought this about a month ago, so you're currently like in the middle of doing this. So some of the things you'll see here, you've already made changes. Some of them you haven't quite made yet, right?
Without going on and on, I will try to be quick with it.
Yeah.
But, so this right here, there was a ton of overgrown like trees, and they were all up against the building. So we actually had to rip out a bunch of trees, and we did the stump grinding, and then covered it with mulch. So there was like a bunch of overgrown bushes, and I think I do have some old pictures of it. So this was all like kind of ugly bushes and trees. Super overgrown. We had to do a ton of landscaping, which was surprising.
How long had this building been vacant before you took it over?
About 1.5 years. So the company sold, I think, 2 years ago, about 1.5 years. And the state rep's office was in here, and then they moved out last year.
So this has just been like a winterized vacant building for about a year. And everything's been overgrown. Nothing's really been taken care of. It's almost kind of like a house rehab, but for a commercial office building.
So we had to cut down this tree, cut down like a bunch of the branches, so this was overgrown. So as you can see, we've still been doing a lot of... And that's actually very light. At one point, I might have some pictures. There was just a bunch of trees. So this fence line here was super overgrown. So all this, there was a bunch of trees, really overgrown. We had to cut this thing back. So we kind of shaped it up like this, raked up all of this, which kind of goes into the back of the building. And then we put down this plastic sheeting. It's kind of like landscaping fabric. And then we're going to cover this all with mulch.
So this was all trees and brush all through here?
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing just the visual aesthetic improvement of just getting rid of overgrowth, right? We see this all the time with vacant lots where people do brush hogging and that kind of thing. It adds a lot of perceived value just to be able to see it and have it look somewhat more maintained.
Yeah, and for example, like all this stuff which we worked on the other day. So there was just garbage. Like all around there, so we had to pull all that out.
It looks like you're putting new tar. So you got 2 parking lots? You got this one over here and then this one? Why are there like 2 parking lots? Like, why didn't they just make one big one? That's kind of, I don't know if that's normal or what.
That's a great question. I think maybe that was that's the actual property, and you know, they might have bought this lot later. The owner might have. And then added this on as more parking.
Yeah, I can see that. And you did a lot of this yourself, right?
Talking about work, right? So I asked ChatGPT, okay, I'm trying to have this vacant building. It's about 9,500 square feet. I want to do a light remodel and kind of bring it back, right? And it told me to estimate $5 to $20 to do a light remodel, nothing fancy. So that would be like $50,000 to $200,000 in just light renovation. That was according to ChatGPT.
That's $5 to $20 per square foot of the building, so not including the parking lot.
Yeah, not including
Okay.
this. So when I saw that, I was like, wow, this is an extensive undertaking. And I wanted to figure out a way to do, because it's not generating income right now. So buying the building and then putting that much into it as a solo operator, with just me and my dad, it wouldn't make the most sense. So we started getting quotes on the panels, getting those panels painted on the front of the building, the back, the red panels. It's really crazy. So we had one painting company come out here, and they quoted $6,000 to do the panels. And then we had another company. They're both great reputation, get the job done. The other company quoted $1,300.
Wow, man. For the exact same thing?
For the exact same job. And one, I think even the $6,000 one might have included materials or not, but they quoted $6,000 to do the same job as someone who quoted $1,300.
Yeah.
All the things add up. So once we go in the building, I can show you, but the work that we did outsource was plumbing, electrical, and painting. For example, this parking lot, I think it was like $10,000 to do the seal coating.
If you would have hired somebody?
If I would have hired somebody. And the material to do this was like under $1,000.
So you did this yourself with the help of one other person. You just got squeegees and spread it around, cleaned it up a little bit. You put this hot rubber stuff to seal the cracks before, and it was just the cost of the material and then your time, right?
Time.
Then I guess the guy that you paid to help you?
Yep, so I had one help, and then of course my dad helped me to fill the cracks here and there. But yeah, it was the cost of material, the guy's time, and my time, and I mean it was like maybe 20% of the cost. And I kind of like being outside too. Yeah. So
that's a nice time of year. Well, you're not done with this yet, but you've got upwards of $200,000 if you hired everything out, maybe. Who knows if that's totally accurate, but what do you think is going to be the total cost all in with the help you're hiring and the help you're doing yourself?
Spend 10 on the parking lot, 6 for the panels, switching the lighting and all that stuff. It all adds up. But I would say I would hope to be all done with about half of the lower limit of what ChatGPT says. So about like 25. 30.
It will be interesting to see. ChatGPT has been quite accurate about a lot of things in my experience. But it's hard to know what assumptions it's making when it gives you that kind of number with this. So I'm curious to see what it ends up being in the end. If that's spot on or way off.
Me too. But the nice thing also is like we're in the land business, right? So this parking lot's actually its own lot. So,
makes sense.
That building right there, that footprint is one lot, and then this is its own lot. So theoretically, we could actually sell this lot off at any point.
Or you could build something on it. Is this like a commercial lot, or
this is residential?
Residential,
and then that's commercial.
But
I haven't really dug too deep because I feel like this lot adds a lot of value to the building.
I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but so this being a residential lot, I don't know if this is considered vacant or not since there's improvements on it with the asphalt. Does the asphalt make your property taxes higher than if it was just a unimproved, like raw land?
Oh, that's a great question.
I mean, it's probably treated differently by different municipalities, but I think as soon as you start adding quote-unquote improvements like this to vacant land, that gives them a case to up your property taxes. But side note, but
I did not even think about that. So it might be. It might be, because I would say the taxes on this lot seem a little bit higher than some of the other like residential vacant lots in the area.
When this building was in full use, I don't even know if you know this, but like were both of these parking lots full? Do you need all the space? Or
so how I found this out was I went on Google Maps and you can actually backtrace like the street view. On like the history. So when I looked in like the 2000 or 2005 or I think it even goes back like 1995 or something. This parking lot was used. There was a lot of cars. All this was striped right before we covered it up. So I think it was parking spaces over there, over here. And I think the owner just kept this open for his use.
Well, should we walk around inside?
Yeah, let's go.
Cool.
So we'll first start on the second floor. So we are still under construction, so it might be a little messy. This right here is kind of like the lobby area and the reception. So there were chairs and all that stuff. So we're kind of making this kind of like a waiting area. And it has a nice desk. There's 2 offices right here. And then we go into the conference over there. And then the restrooms are this way. There's a kitchen.
Was this where the state rep's office was?
No, the state rep's office is actually downstairs. So this was mainly where the main company, like the Fall Property Management. That's where they were in here. So this is like the lobby area, a couple of offices, and the conference room. And then this is kind of like the main area with all the suites, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, this is kind of like the main area. The deal came with all the furniture.
Oh, nice. Are you going to keep or use much of that, or?
Yeah, so we actually had to do like 3 full loads of junk removal.
Okay.
When we first got the property.
It's pretty nice, man. There's a lot of furniture in here. Every single office.
Yep, it's all furnished.
Huh. So this right here, this used to be the previous owner used all this space for their...
For his company,
Okay.
yes. You know, so they had like hundreds... They had like 100 of those file cabinets. This was primarily, to my understanding, where the main, like the owner used the space for his business. And then downstairs, I believe, is where you might have rented some of it.
It's been almost 10 years now since I've worked in an office like this. I wonder how useful file cabinets are these days. Like, do people still use them for hard copies and stuff?
You know, that is a great point. I don't think they're as useful. There's just so many of them. My dad likes them, so he's like, we should keep some of these file cabinets.
Yeah, I mean, if you're from a certain generation, I mean, even myself, like, I get it. Sometimes it's just nice to have hard copies of stuff.
Yeah, and we're actually planning on converting all these lights that are in here are fluorescent lights. So I actually ordered LEDs. So I ran it through ChatGPT, and I was like, hey, so we have 256 4-feet light bulbs that are fluorescent, and if we run it 8 hours a day, if I convert it to LEDs, how much money would I save on a yearly basis? And they said it was like $2,000, or it's like $200 to $300 a month you can reduce. And the cost of the bulbs are like $4 a bulb for LEDs. And we used this company called 1,000 Bulbs to purchase the LED. We also painted all this. I wasn't a big fan of the blue that was in here. So it was all like one color, like this baby blue. We actually just got done painting the panels. It's kind of like an off-white.
Yeah, tell me about that. You were telling me you got the paint really cheap from Sherwin-Williams because you were able to... Explain that one more time.
Sure. So it's a combination. So you can buy paint. This is like it's like a little hack, right? You can go to Sherwin-Williams and say, I need 5 gallons of this paint in this color. And you can pay, I think it's like 40 to 50 bucks a gallon. And when you're painting like non-important spaces, so up here, we didn't use what's called mist tints. So mist tints is, let's just say that they made a 5-gallon bucket and it's slightly off color, or it's not ugly, it's not bad paint, or it's not ugly paint. It's just, there was a slight technical error and they no longer can sell it. Instead of paying $50 a gallon, you can actually buy it for like $5 to $10 a gallon. Let's say that they're making this sea salt, you know, this green, but if it's a little bit messed up, like with this color stuff, it's like one little thing can make it like not sellable. But if you painted a mist tint green versus this green, it would look about the same. There's not much of a difference. They just have buckets that are different colors, 5 gallons sometimes, 1 gallon, or 20 gallons. It doesn't matter. Or cancel jobs. So sometimes contractors will buy, or they'll place an order and then they won't come pick it up. And then it's like a super specific color. So they kind of just put it in the mist tints to liquidate. So we bought like 35 gallons like that. So that would have been like $2,000 in paint. And I think we got it for like 300 bucks.
Yeah, that's huge, man. And tell me, in this space here, so you painted the panels here. Are you changing the carpet? Are you changing the ceiling? You said you're changing the lights. Like, how is this going to look different when you're done with it?
We got to be really careful, right? Because if we start ripping up one thing, we're going to want to keep that project going, and it's just going to start depleting costs, right? So the only plan in here for now is we're going to convert all of this to LEDs and reorganize the furniture. I think right now it looks a little messy, but we've already removed a bunch of stuff. We're going to put up some art on the walls and put up some spotlight lights that would show the art. I think that would really kind of make it look nice. We just had the locksmith come through here. We have to change out 36 locks in the building. Before, they didn't have keys on them. It was just like normal doorknobs. So we had to switch them all out to keyed doorknob.
I see like these desks outside here. Is this like for if somebody has an assistant to help them or something, or is that just something totally separate?
So, you know, we were thinking about that too, right? Like when I was working with the listing agent, he's like, yeah, we could offer maybe a room and a desk for someone's like assistant, and you could just face it against the wall. And that could be another value add for potential tenants.
What a person's going to get for $500 a month is obviously their office that pays for, I guess, any lights, electricity, utilities. Do they get like some shared space? Like there's free coffee over here or something, or like what's the whole package they would get?
So what they would get is they would get their room. So this is like an example. It's really nice. I mean, there's like at the window.
Yeah.
One thing that was big in this, that was one of my favorite parts of this building, is actually the natural light. But yeah, sorry. But as far as what they're going to get, is it's going to be one office, and then of course you get access to, you know, like we're going to put some couches out here. So to common areas, internet will be included.
Okay.
We'll have some coffee machines.
Are there any other co-working spaces around here? Or like, how does what you're providing compare with competitors in the area, if there are any?
So there was one that was a solo operator kind of thing that opened up, but that was a huge project. And I think that was a very expensive project compared to how we're going about it. There is competition, right? But like on this side of town, so there's Naperville, and then Naperville has a good amount of co-working spaces and office and all that. So on this side, it's limited. It's kind of like older offices. So we're kind of trying to make this more of like a somewhat of a renovated, updated, without being super expensive.
Yeah, it does make you wonder. We're talking about renovations you want to do and all that.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, like, what does your tenant actually want and care about? Like, what will impact whether they want to rent here or not, or like what they're willing to pay per month? Because it's super easy to get sucked into this idea. Like something might matter to you, but your tenants don't care about it.
So an example of that is like ceiling tiles. I was like, oh, what if we rip out the drop ceiling? Some people are painting it black, and it's kind of looks cool, raises the ceiling. But is that really what's needed right now? Yeah, I think that would definitely make a huge dent to the budget.
It's actually funny you mentioned the ceiling, because that's part of why I even thought to ask that question. Because like I would want to change the ceiling, but I also don't know if that matters. I don't see how that would materially change what people would pay per month or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think the thing to always remember for us has been like, you can do this in phases. We just finished painting. We ripped out all the outlets in the building, the electrical outlets, and replaced them with the new outlets. And then we put in GFIs in like the bathrooms and kitchen area, and then put in a few new fixtures for the lighting. So like stuff like that's kind of like really essential, but ripping out the ceiling is, you know, it's a huge undertaking, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but you know, these tiles are $12 to $14 a tile.
Oh yeah.
I have no idea how many are in here.
Yeah. Why was this building built? Do you know?
1970s sometime. But yeah, I would say, yeah, my favorite thing about the building is sometimes you go into office buildings and the natural light is really lacking.
Yeah.
And here, almost every office has a window.
Yeah, that is nice.
So right here I think this used to be the copy room, like the printer thing. So we're probably gonna put in a printer here and put some copy machines right here. This kind of like stationary stuff. So this would be like kind of like a break room, and then put the couches right here.
Sure. When you mentioned updating the outlets, was there something like notably wrong with the old ones?
They were just ugly.
Okay.
You know, so
it's just an aesthetic thing?
Yeah, it was an aesthetic thing, and also like, for example, they were like yellow.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you have a good electrician, he did a great job. We did outlets and switches, and I think it was a couple hundred of them. Switching it from a yellow outlet, so like that looks kind of ugly.
Yeah. Say if one tenant shows up, and they're like, hey, Peter, we'll rent this whole floor. We want to pay $400 per office. Would you do that just because it's easier? Like, do the numbers still work? Or does this kind of rely on you getting $500 per office one way or another?
Oh, I would 100%. If they want to rent it out and give them a discount, absolutely. The main thing is to cover that monthly expense. The nice thing about this building is there's a second floor and then there's a first floor. So if someone's like, hey, we want this entire floor, we can just turn that shared per office thing downstairs.
What is your break-even point? Like, how many offices would it take to be filled before it's like, okay, we're breaking even?
About 50 to 60%.
Okay.
And then we should be pretty good.
Sure.
Because the thing is, for me, this hasn't been like a cash flow play. It was like, you know, this started as my dad wanting an office for his business, and we just kind of ended up buying.
Yeah.
And this one is, I mean, you're in pretty deep. It's not an office condo or like a single unit kind of thing. But we're like, hey, this could be a nice piece of real estate to own over the next 10 years. And at least what we're paying every month will go into something that we own. And if we can get a good deal on it, make it better, maybe it's like an appreciation play.
Is there any kind of like plan B? I don't know. Say if you do all the work.
Yeah.
Say if the people don't come. Say if just nothing works out the way you plan.
Yeah.
Then what?
That would be sad.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, it doesn't sound likely, but
Uh-huh.
as a Enneagram Type 6, I'm always thinking of the worst case scenario. So, like, have you not spent much time thinking about that, or?
No. If that does happen, I mean, that's why when we kind of got into it, it's nice to have like two people, right? Because then you're both of you, like me and my dad, we're kind of sharing the exposure. You know, I was kind of going into it. I was like, hey, if we're sitting on this thing for 3-4 months or 6 months and it's still moving slowly, we got to be willing to cover it. So it's kind of like a reserve.
Yeah. That does take a ton of pressure off, having somebody else, even just like psychologically, knowing somebody else is in it with you, but also obviously financially.
Yeah.
This isn't all on my shoulders if things don't work out the way I plan.
And honestly, at first, I was very against the idea. You know, I was like, no, we shouldn't. Let's just rent an office space. But I also haven't ever done a commercial deal. And for every time I get uncomfortable doing something and then I end up doing it, and then I always look back and I'm happy that I did it.
Yeah, for sure.
When it comes to like taking on projects.
I totally hear what you're saying. I think there's a lot of value in doing things that make you uncomfortable. But when is something uncomfortable because it's a dumb decision? And when is it uncomfortable because it's a growth opportunity? Like, how do you draw the line and understand, like, it's inherently good for me to do this even though it's not my normal thing that I would do?
The way I saw it was, could this thing bankrupt me? Right? Like, if this deal went bad, could it really like mess up, you know, the financial position or whatever? If this was like maybe 5 times bigger or 4 times bigger, I would say that's a dumb decision. But it's like kind of within your ability to handle it. You know, so if I went for something maybe bigger than this, then I would be kind of under pressure. But this was somewhat within reach, and that's what kind of made it comfortable, because if you overextend and over leverage, and then it just gets out of hand, and then that's when I think it's a dumb decision.
Do you want to check out downstairs?
Yeah, let's go downstairs. So this is pretty cool too, right here. So this is like the front entrance.
Do more people use this entrance or the entrance we came through the parking lot?
I would say, so this right now is like an emergency exit. I think most likely we'll probably just stick to the back entrance.
It almost seems like it's just for show or something.
Yeah, it looks kind of neat.
Yeah.
So one of the windows broke when we were stump grinding.
Oh, really? Did like a rock hit it or something? Or
Yep. Or the machine picked up the rock and then just broke the window.
how much is a window like that to fix?
We were looking at about 1,000. The owner put in $70,000 on that wood paneling when he bought the building.
Okay.
Which was wild. Because now for us, it's whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it was like $70,000.
It's weird how times and styles change, you know?
And that's a big expense.
Yeah.
And also this hallway, which kind of made a huge difference, was this used to be like a dark red color, like this whole thing. And now painting this thing white kind of looks lighter, bigger.
Yeah. Which floor is going to be ready for action first? This bottom floor or the top floor?
Probably the top one, but we're pretty close on this side too. This right here is one of the sides of the building.
Are these offices less expensive because they're on the lower floor, or more expensive, or?
That's the plan. I mean, we might make these like $400 or a month instead of $500. The nice thing is, again, even being on the first floor, they still have windows.
Yeah.
I don't know. The windows just make me happy.
So they do make a difference, though, man. Having that natural light. What about these windows between offices? Do you just put curtains over those or something, or let the tenants figure out what they want to do with that?
So our plan is actually, you know, that's a great reminder, is blinds. Planning on putting light filtering shades. It's kind of like these, I forgot the name, they have a name for it. Like it rolls down and rolls up. It's used in a lot of commercial applications.
Yeah. Is that a broken window?
Yeah, that's a broken window.
Do you got to fix that one too, or?
Yep, the glass is all in the way because you got to custom make the glass. But as far as what we did here, it was a lot of junk removal. Of course, all the outlets. We painted the common hallway, so this was not this color. It was like this shiny baby blue. So we used what's called satin paint, less shiny and just kind of looks neat. The color is called Greek Villa. I think I just like the name more than the color, but it's kind of like this off-white. It's pretty interesting. And then this side is clean slate. So it's kind of like this gray. It's like this light gray.
So we're recording this as of June 2024.
Yep.
When do you anticipate this whole thing is going to be market ready?
3 weeks.
Really? 3 weeks from now?
It's got to be done in 3 weeks.
Okay. And how are you going to find tenants? Like, where do you advertise this kind of thing? Is it like Craigslist or Facebook, or is there some special website like LoopNet or something where you advertise this stuff?
So there's 2 plans of action, or whatever you want to call them. So the first one is we're gonna have a commercial listing agent, like a realtor. So they'll be marketing it to their client base, and of course like the MLS and like the traditional ways. But I also want to experiment with like having our own website and directing traffic using Google My Business and like a geo-targeting kind of thing. So that's the plan. So I plan to assist in the marketing by myself and then also use a realtor.
Cool, man. What kind of fee do they charge once they find you a tenant?
I think it's first month's rent.
Yeah. The tenants, do they just pay month by month, or do they pay for a year at a time, or how do you try to structure that?
It would be like a 12-month lease. Because the month-to-month thing is very volatile.
You know, another thing you could do as a plan B is lease out some of these spaces as climate-controlled self-storage. Yeah.
Bingo, yeah. So that would be the plan. That's kind of why I changed all these locks. There was like 36 of them. Yeah, that would be another option. I was actually thinking, so this is going to probably be the last part of the building that we renovate because we want to focus on that suite over there upstairs, the other suite, which is done.
Curious to see if you'll get any businesses where it's like, hey, we got 2 people in this one company. We want to rent 2 spaces side by side, or we want to take up this section of your building so we can all be together. Oh, just be curious to see if that ever happens, or if it's just 100% solo operators.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think this building a long time ago, before the property management company was in here, actually this was like a bank's office. So they had like finance and accounting or whatever. So these lock. So that's like a suite pretty much right there. And then that's like its own suite.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then this is the former state rep's office, which is pretty much ready to go. We just have some work to
looks
do
nice.
on flooring.
Smells like fresh paint here for those who can't smell over video.
So this is the conference, and yeah, basically there's just a little bit of work to do with updating, but yeah, we repainted all this, and this is like a standalone suite, or standalone suite, because this one has like, 2 rooms and a conference room.
Do you have to replace doors or anything like that?
Probably
Or just
not.
hope they don't notice?
Eventually, what we want to do is take out all these wood-looking doors and put in the white
I wonder if you
doors.
could just paint them white.
Yeah, we've got to find a good painter, actually. Because that would also really add to the modernization.
Yeah, totally. Being in Aurora, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago, and I know Chicago is known for high property taxes, is Aurora like that too? Is all Illinois like that? Or is it just Cook County, or how's it work?
I think it's the northern Illinois just seems to have high taxes.
Is this part of Cook County?
No, Kane.
Oh, okay.
Kane, yeah, so... Yeah, taxes is a big expense, but outside of that, and your primary like your payments on the debt, it's the regular stuff like electricity, gas. But if you're able to do a little bit of the work yourself, because I do plan on using an office space.
Yeah.
So, if you do a little bit of the work yourself, you can cut costs.
So the stuff you're still planning to do out here, we kind of talked about it. You're going to paint those panels. You're going to tar the rest of this driveway or this parking lot here.
Yeah.
Were you going to trim out any other trees in the front? Because this is in the back of the building.
Oh yeah, should we go up front?
Sure.
There was a bunch of overgrown, like bushes. Like this is a giant bush.
This looks trimmed up. Did you take care of this one?
Yeah, I think I got bored one of these times and I cut a little bit of it, like trimming it up.
Okay.
But it just kind of, it seems kind of obnoxious.
Yeah. I wonder if there's certain bushes you can get that just don't require much trimming, Whereas something like this, seems like probably every single year you got to mess with it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so you want to do like low maintenance things.
Yeah.
Right? So even with the stuff that we put in, from now, because all the stuff that was on here was like, you have to trim it every year. So this was all bushes.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing pictures of it.
And we ripped out all the bushes, grinded the stumps. So now we're going to lay down a protective barrier or landscape fabric and then put mulching.
Yeah.
And maybe put some nice bushes.
Yeah, cool.
And then paint the red panels.
Yeah.
Probably another shade of red. We definitely need to get a flag up ASAP.
Yeah. What's the flag going to be?
The American flag.
Okay.
Red,
good.
white, and blue.
God bless America.
Right? Yeah.
Well, thank you for the tour. It's been awesome to see this. I look forward to seeing the final product. And maybe we'll have to make some kind of follow-up video.
Yes, thank you, Seth.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.